This episode of Bass Hunters is brought to you by our founding partner, Kaleidescape, makers of the ultimate movie platform, providing bit-perfect content for analysis through their class-leading players and storage systems. Also supporting us is Ascendo, an elite manufacturer of loudspeakers, subwoofers and amplifiers, and supplier of a 32-inch infrasonic subwoofer that enables us to explore the deepest bass in movie content. Additionally, Sutherland AV Marketing, Ascendo's North American distribution partner and distributor of Movia seating, and Christie projectors. Finally, this episode is made possible by Faber Acoustical, creators of Signalscope X, a powerful software suite that allows us to visualize and dissect bass content in films.
Up next on Bass Hunters, we peel back the layers on a thriller called Drop. Hey, how's it going, home theater fans and fellow bass heads? My name is Todd Anderson with avnirvana.com. Welcome to another episode of Bass Hunters, and today we are right back at it with an entertaining popcorn flick called Drop. This one is available right now on Kaleidescape and physical media. The version we've analyzed for this episode was provided by our friends at Kaleidescape. It launched on the Kscape platform in late April in 4K with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos sound. Has a 240:1 aspect ratio and a 95-minute runtime, which is the perfect length for a film like this. It became available on 4K and Blu-ray disc last week. Both formats have lossless Dolby Atmos tracks, which is really nice because, look, let's face it, if you're not a 4K buyer and you're looking only to buy that Blu-ray disc, well, good news is you still have access to a really good Dolby Atmos track, and this one really sings. But in today's video, we're not concerned about that. We are concerned about the bass. We're talking about infrasonics, atmospherics, and LFE bass. And now, just to lay this out there right now, there aren't any extended demo clips that I recommend from this film for purposes of pushing your system, okay? But that is not to say that there aren't some tasty little nuggets sprinkled all throughout this film when it comes to bass. You're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. And I think when you watch this film in your own home theater, you're going to enjoy them a lot. Now, because this movie is a thriller, I've taken steps to conceal any video that might spoil the fun, just in case, because this one has some twists and turns.
Attention, I've detected infrasonic frequencies. Deploying sensors.
All right, so we're going to charge forward into this film, first talking about infrasonics, where we lean on our Ascendo 32-inch infrasonic subwoofer to help us reveal those infrasonic details that are embedded into this audio track. So what we're concerned with is bass that exists below this 20 hertz line. So everything in this pink shaded area, that's where we're going to find quite a few moments of transient infrasonics. That is quick bursts of energy that you can see right here in this snapshot. Right there, this is a transient infrasonic captured right at the beginning of the film. And again, over here we have decibels. So this one is right around 86 dB. And we're looking roughly at about 18 hertz, and that's a bit of decent energy right there. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. All right, so here we have a bit of powerful activity just below 20 hertz. In fact, we can see we have a nice little roll up right there, right to the 20 hertz mark. Not what I would call transient, but it's brief. We're talking about 2 seconds from the time that it's hovering right around here, right around 75 dB and rising to 88 dB, right around 19 hertz, more or less rounding out the other frequencies you see in the 20 hertz range that you can definitely hear and feel.
Come on, show me!
Now, that same exact scene was shown a second time in the film. It's a nice little flashback, building the tension of the movie. And the bass associated with this second clip was definitely cranked up. And you can see that right here in the infrasonics. We are hitting up significantly higher than we were in that previous clip that we just talked about. Here we're looking at a jolt of energy that definitely makes the room feel nice and alive. Now, we've had some examples in the past of frequency peaks that mirror each other in movement. You can see we are getting that again right there. This is a brief bass drop that builds in the 20 hertz range, topping out with quite a bit of energy into the teens. If anything, visually interesting, but definitely fun to hear.
happening, I'm gonna have to start taking it personally.
And here we find ourselves near the end of the film, and this is our last look at Infrasonics. You can see right there, this is about as deep as they go. In fact, this is the deepest clip from this film. We're hitting right down to around about 15 or 14 hertz, right in that solid 86 dB territory. So a nice bit of energy right there. And these examples pretty much run the gamut of what you're going to experience when it comes to infrasonics in the film. Notice exactly what I was talking about: brevity, transience. These are just brief moments. The longest one lasting around 2 seconds, all the rest much, much shorter.
Bass textures detected. Switching to atmospheric sensors.
Okay, so with atmospherics, we're looking at bass that adds texture or presence to a certain point of the movie. And when it comes to drop, this kind of bass is associated with adding this tension or terror to a specific scene. And lucky for us, they execute this really well with this movie. There's a lot of fun moments. And you can see that tension building right here. Let's give this one a roll.
Violet, everything okay?
And there are a lot of moments like this throughout the film, but to the credit of the sound design team, these moments are widely varied in how they sound and how intense they are. You can see right here, we're talking about some relatively potent bass. This is 30 hertz right here. So we're peaking out right around 100 dB. That's a nice bit of energy, folks. This is something that you not only hear, but you are really feeling. If your subs are capable playing with confidence around 30 hertz, this movie is going to treat you with quite a few moments that just accentuate the building tension of a scene. Okay, so now this next clip, this is hands down my favorite scene of the entire movie when it comes to bass. You're going to see it's very much in line with what we were just looking at, but it's different. Check this one out. Okay, now the first time I heard this, I was pretty sure I'd find some gnarly infrasonics in play, but it turns out we're just looking at some crazy potent bass right there in the 20 hertz range. We also have some here, high 40s, and then you can see right here in the 70 hertz range, we're still hitting around 90 dB. So a broad spectrum represented, but folks, this right here, I'm telling you, this thing just tore through my home theater room and just like shocked right through my body. It's just a great moment in this film where this character's worst fear is becoming reality, and that punch of bass amps the scene up in a big way. Atmospheric bass also appears as a whooshing sound that's meant to relay a sense of altered reality or fear or confusion. And this is used to great effect throughout the film. And you can see it happening right in this region here. We're talking about 50 hertz down to 20 hertz, and boom, right there. It's a nice little pop. Again, it's like a transient. It's so brief, but boy, they execute this so well.
I can't imagine.
And here's another look at how that kind of atmospheric plays out. And you can see this is slightly different than what we saw in the last clip, but same exact idea. And here's one more look. This one is during the climax of the film, and just another great example of that kind of whooshing sound. This time it takes the form of a bass roll. You can actually see that right there, a double bass roll that's dipping down into the infrasonics a little bit there. And yeah, just a really nice moment in this movie that adds to the tension of this particular scene. And otherwise, bass in this realm is relegated to pulses and beats that are embedded into the track, and they just build that tension that they want you to feel as you're watching this movie.
911, what's your emergency? Hi, my son is being held. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, it's just great stuff. And look, I mean, for me, when it comes to this film and bass, atmospherics is where it's at. It's where the movie really hits its stride from a bass perspective, cranking up that sense of fear and dread, which is so important in a thriller.
Engaging LFE analyzer.
All right, moving right along, let's check out what Drop has in the way of LFE bass effects. And for these clips, I'm definitely concealing the footage so I don't spoil anything, but we have some nice bass associated with gunshots. Here we have a handgun. And here's a look at the peak output right there. We're seeing close to around 98 dB, both in that 20 hertz range, but also in 40 hertz. So this is a nice thud to the chest. And here we have a shot from a handgun with a silencer. So you can see they're a little bit more subdued, which is something that we would expect. You still get a nice little bit of impact though going on. A similar frequency range, a little higher push right there up into the 30 hertz range. So not quite as deep as what we saw with that first handgun shot. In last week's Bass Hunters episode, we were looking at the movie Warfare, and we got a great feel for sound design that takes advantage of proximity to a gun that's being fired. We saw some examples of how they varied LFE based on a camera being next to a gun being fired versus being on like the other side of a wall, or inside versus outside. And they did a great job of creating a sense of space and distance, right, by varying the LFE. And they had a chance to do that in this movie with that same gun that we just saw shot. It was fired on the other side of a door and then within a room. And let's check out and see if there's any difference. And here's a snapshot of what that looks like. The gun has just been fired. The camera is on one side of the door, the gun is on the other, and you can see this presentation is basically exactly the same as what we saw when the gun is fired inside of the room. So from my perspective, missed opportunity to create that sense of spacing here. Okay. All right. So I know that's a little bit picky, right? I mean, we are talking about a door that's on the inside of a house. It's probably a thin door, but I'm going to stick to my guns here, folks, and no pun intended right there. I think a little variation right there would have been nice. And for the last kind of LFE bass that is present in this movie, we're talking about explosive activity. We're not talking about bombs, but rather large objects that are smashing into things. I'm not going to play the sound on this one. I'm just going to give you a visual of what it looks like. But you can see right there, we have a nice broad spectrum pop of bass. This is right in the 20 hertz range right here. We have got some activity in the infrasonics, also in the 40 hertz range, and right dead on at 60 hertz. So really a nice broad slam of bass. And folks, it's these kind of moments that just add that extra bit of texture and power to this film. And I really appreciate them a lot. Yeah, the results are great.
Assimilating data and generating bass analysis scorecard.
All right, so there's our final scores for Drop, and you can see it does fairly well considering its genre and storyline. All in all, when looking at what's there, there's quite a bit of meat on the bone for a nice home theater system to chew on. You know, if you're rocking an underpowered system or a system with a soundbar, you're going to experience the vast majority of this material. There's a couple moments like that really extreme pulse of bass that's in the 25 hertz range, hitting up around 102, 104 dB that your system probably isn't going to be able to play back. But more than likely, you're going to still have a good time with this film. But folks, anyone out there that has a really great system, you're going to be surprised with this movie. Yes, we're talking about transient bass and moments where bass just pounds away for seconds at a time, but it sounds quite good and adds a lot to the film's presentation, particularly again when it comes to atmospherics and how they're used to set the stage and tension for scenes. All right, folks, that's all I've got for you now. As I said in the beginning, this is a fun film with some really neat bass moments, but there aren't any extended demo scenes to recommend. So like, share, subscribe, come over and hang out with us on the home theater forum at avnirvana.com, and I'll see you next time.